like a resource. I went through like the habits and the resources, and it has a
Mhm.
resource that says stress eating solutions. Um, and just, and just skimming that as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there's probably a whole bunch of resources from PN. So, for folks who are just tuning in, welcome. We're in the middle of a conversation right now in our Coaches Connect call, and we're helping Jeanette, who is working with a new client who has identified several areas in which they could potentially make some improvements in their health journey. So, noting that sleep deprivation is a kind of chronic issue for them right now. They're also working on stress eating. And what was kind of that third issue that they had identified as well?
Just like never, eating based on external, they didn't say this, but coach to coach, she's
Mhm.
eating based on external cues. Like she's tired, she's procrastinating, she's not ever eating because she's hungry.
Gotcha. Okay, so not really being super in tune with her hunger cues,
Yeah,
but
there's no hunger cue
just fair,
attunement.
fitting it in where she can. Okay, cool. So it sounds like, and you were sharing with us kind of the dilemma here is that there's probably several areas in which you can start with her, and you, being a wise coach, asked her, "Hey, where do you want to start?" And her
Mhm.
response to you was,
Stress eating.
"Cool." So now our role is we're looking for useful practices for her to begin with in order to help start tackling stress eating and building greater awareness of it and then building some new routines and patterns around it. And to assist us with that, we're going to look into the Pro Coach library uh, and start there as kind of a place to understand what might be some useful practices to work on. So we're going to start in the skills tree, and we're looking at nutrition as a particular skill here. And there are probably some places that in eat well intuitively or eat well consistently that make some relevant sense here.
Yeah, I think intuitively had more. Consistently was more like, I don't know, about like portions or macros.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of this is going to depend on what specific actions you want them to take. I tend to find that if there is a practice that we're looking for, and I don't have the exact like the verbiage that my client is using, they're not looking to specifically eat till satisfied, but they notice that, hey, I have the consistently mentioned that it's like I feel like I overeat. I feel like I'm overly full at the end of meals. Uh, I eat because of other external cues. I eat until my plate is clean. What we're looking to do is build hunger and appetite awareness. So eating till satisfied tends to be quite useful here. The way that I actually look at these four skills is kind of a cyclical nature. So the one that we typically start with in terms of that cycle of building awareness and getting to a point of being more in control of our eating and feeling more attuned to our eating would be eat slowly and mindfully. This opens the door for a lot of folks. Doesn't really require that anything changes in terms of what appears on your plate and when your meal ends. The only goal is a eating behavior that is very broad. So you can start the meal with a timer, try and extend your meals a little bit longer, eat a few bites at the beginning or end of the meal, and take a little bit more time with that. Anything in that nature that extends kind of the time perspective of a meal or a portion of the meal can be very useful. So that is typically an easier entry point into this conversation. Eating till satisfied, now we're getting a little bit more specific. Eating satisfaction and finishing when we're satisfied typically focuses our attention a little bit more to the end of the meal. It's really hard to eat one bite and then say, well, this meal is done and now I'm satisfied. So it's normally something that happens in the back half of a meal, mostly as they're approaching that feeling of fullness and kind of bringing the plane in for a landing is the analogy that I want to use here. So giving them more of a specific target to focus their attention so they can continue to use eating slowly. It will likely help to raise their awareness. And then we want to channel that awareness into what happens in the back half of the meal. When do they stop there? Something that tends to be quite useful there is like being able to, we're not intentionally changing what appears on your plate. We're not specifically saying that you have to uh, clear your plate. If you can finish a meal and there's a few bites or even a single bite on the plate, that is a marker of progress in the eat till satisfied practice tree. Or at least that's something that I share with my clients.
Meaning they're
But
not eating until the plate is clean, they're eating until they're satisfied.
exactly. So they're not using those external cues as much. They're getting comfortable in a place where it's like, uh, I can rely more internally on my own uh, kind of intuitive sense and less so on external cues. But to even give them like to be give them some guidelines here because it can sometimes be a little nebulous. I'll say, I want you to really turn this practice on for like the last quarter of your meal. If we visualize you're eating four slices of pizza, it's that fourth slice that I actually want you to really pay attention to. If you're eating a sandwich, it's the last quarter of your sandwich that I want you to pay attention to. Eating a bowl of soup, it's the last quarter. So that is a way to kind of give them extra guidelines and some guidance there. And then that can be a way to focus their attention on what is happening at the end of the meal so that they can make more in tune and aware choices as opposed to kind of every single bite has to be laser focused. Otherwise, you're going to miss your exit.
The thing is, if stress is the like impetus for the eating, I don't think that that last slice or last quarter of the bowl or last quarter of the sandwich, I don't even think like that registers because the whole thing is driven by stress. Like I don't
Uh, and you
know.
are correct. So
Yeah, if
I'll share
that's it.
my, yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, it's certainly the starting point for a lot of folks. A typical example you'll see is someone is overwhelmed with a task or they're overly tired or their attention and resources that they can give to any particular task, including eating, is minimal right now. So we're not really paying attention to what goes on my plate or how much goes on my plate or the speed of eating. All of those things go out the window. Typically, as we advance through the meal, uh, the opportunity for us to start to tune in and becomes easier. For a lot of folks, like there are cues throughout the meal. Like as soon as I start, I try and get my clients to recognize just pause at the halfway point when you feel like you've eaten half your meal. The
Hmm.
rationale here is when we're really stressed or overly tired, our perception of hunger is often higher for some folks. There's also a population where their perception of hunger goes to the basement and they just don't notice hunger at all when they're really stressed or overly tired. These people, in my experience, tend to be people who have more trouble gaining weight than losing weight. So if you're working with a weight loss client, their appetite might be really negatively impacted by stress, but more often than not, they tend to have their stress response is to eat more and eat more quickly.
Yeah.
But part of soothing that stress response for them may be turning to food. And if that is the case, after they've actually eaten some amount of their meal, the stress response will start to drop off a little bit. And it's
Okay.
just that perceptual window that opens is now the point where we could say, cool, let's tune in now. I'm not going to tell you to do anything when stress is really high and you feel like anxiety is through the roof and you just grab something to eat and you just start eating because that friction is really, really high for a lot of folks. And asking them to try and do something there is going to be challenging. If they don't do it immediately, then most people, especially early on, are going to say, I can't do this. I'm just going to eat this however I want. I've already missed the window anyway. It doesn't matter. I'll try again, hopefully at the next meal or tomorrow or next week. Uh, and in many instances, it's this strategy is not working for me.
Hmm. So let
So
them
you
just
can
go ahead and start and then have them pause
exactly,
at the halfway mark or at some point to assess.
yeah, exactly. I tell my clients, like, the first half of the meal, I don't care what you do. You can eat this like the Tasmanian devil. You can eat it like a duck and just slide it down your throat. You don't have to chew. Do whatever you want to get that initial stress to come down to something where it's more manageable. For a lot of people, the guidance that I give them is tune in at the halfway point of the meal. I refer
Int-
to this as the halftime show. This is where you put your utensils down, take a sip of water, and just kind of see where you're at. What is my hunger at? What is my stress at now? And then if you want to continue eating, you certainly can. If you feel like, okay, I'm satisfied for now, I have another task to attend to, I don't need to eat anymore, great, put it away or dispose of it. But it just gives us the opportunity to check in a less high pressure situation that then allows you to make a different choice or make a choice as opposed to kind of just continuing to blindly eat until the food is all gone.
Yeah, this actually tracks with this article because it says strategy one, go ahead and overeat. Then strategy two, create a nourishment menu. So maybe at that halfway point, there's a nourishment menu that's things like take 3 breaths, drink a big glass of water, mentally
Mhm.
check for signs of hunger, play with your pet, etc. So what you're
Yep.
saying, kind of like this, right? You could kind of put the two together.
Yeah, you can certainly combine those strategies and then use them in a time where stress is already like food is still very useful for reducing stress. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes a problem when that is your only way to reduce stress. So the nourishment menu gives you more opportunity to do different things. Where you insert it into the meal, either pre, during, or post, that's something you get to discuss with your client.
Mm-hmm.
Tamara, you had your hand up.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Hey everyone again. So I'm just so thankful for Jeanette shared her case
Thank you.
because this really is so much common, and I just want to like share my experience as well. Like I mean, like a touch of wrong, it makes it taste right. I mean, like when clients over focus, yeah, on their weight and feel like they're fat or they want to lose their weight, they so much time like pay attention on their food. I mean, like when I don't want to be skinny and I'm not over focused on my weight, I can figure out with my emotions with different ways. I mean, like playing with my dog, making shopping, breathing, yoga, Pilates, I don't know, whatever, calling like my friend. But when I want to lose weight, the only one thing I want to figure out with this freaking stress is just to eat this, I mean, like pint of ice cream or wherever, because it feels like in that moment I'm ruining this system. It's like a kind of
Mhm.
like a self-harm thing, because when the first thing first is just your body composition and everything you do is just to lose weight and to figure out with this, I mean, like the food is only one way to just avoid everything and to reduce the stress, because it's really I mean, like it's fascinating when I met my clients who don't have any problems with food, which is not really common as well. They don't use food as a stress relief. They, yeah, okay, so they can smoke, they can do like I don't know, like OCD things or something, but they don't eat when they stress out, literally.
Mhm.
So sometimes when, okay, not sometimes, like 90% when my clients share with me, like, oh, when I'm stressed, I always eat, I often ask them, are you like losing, have been you like losing weight for like 10 years? Say, yes, of course, like all my life or something. So yeah, I'm sure that all your advices and about like to make this legalize, I mean, this way of reducing stress, sometimes it's really helpful, yeah, to share them. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to like figure out like this. But maybe, as Jeanette said, yeah, you have to like nourish your body, because they all their lives they try, they focus on how to not to eat, how to
Mm-hmm.
reduce, but not to how to eat. So they often like they have approach like, oh, help me to, I mean, like reduce calories or whatever, but they don't ask you about like, I want to eat, or yeah, kind of.
Yeah, so I mean, what you're sharing there in terms of having clients who kind of their entire focus is on weight loss and it becomes very all encompassing in their life, it can often feel like a loss of control. And if you've taken our SSR course, then you may have come across the term that is kind of a parallel to this, which is bedtime or revenge bedtime procrastination. And this is a phenomenon that maybe you're familiar with. I am 100% familiar with this for myself, in that at the end of a very busy day or a very taxing or stressful day, instead of going to sleep and getting restorative recovering sleep, which we know which would be beneficial for us in that moment, we stay up and do other tasks. So a lot of times it looks like watching TV or scrolling on your phone for an inordinate amount of time, to the point where it's like I've now set myself up for having another very tired, miserable day the next day because I stayed up today. But what I was really trying to do, even though I may have said it's like this is my downtime, this is my pleasurable time, uh, what I was really trying to do was essentially gain control of the situation. This is the only time where I had to exert my free will and my ability to take control of something. And that's how I decided to use it in a way that is seemingly and very logically kind of destructive. It's not in line with my goals for health. It's not going to help me have a more productive or less stressful day tomorrow. If anything, it's kind of leaning into some of those poor habits and likely to set me up for that again in the future. So we see that with sleep and sleep hygiene, revenge, bedtime procrastination. Tamara, what you're describing from a food perspective is also very similar, where a client may be experiencing a lack of control in that domain because they're being told what to eat, how much to eat, how to eat. All of these strictures are being placed on them, and they push back by doing something where it's like, I'm going to do the exact opposite of these things. I'm going to eat a food that I've been told I should not eat. I'm going to eat it in a behavior that I should not do, which is either kind of like overeating it, eating it too quickly, uh, and then yeah, I'm going to do all the things that give me back the power, even though they do not help me. But in the moment, they are solving a problem. That problem is typically a lack of feeling of control, which often stems from following rigid dietary rules that they themselves felt they should do, as opposed to they felt this is beneficial and useful for me or pleasurable for me, which is very much one of the reasons why so much of PN coaching is built around the idea of client-centered coaching. Instead of telling people what to do and how to do it, we give them kind of options and say, hey, why do you want to do this thing? Here's a set of ways, or here are some ways that you can do it and achieve it. And then we'll continue to support those and check in with you and see, how do you feel about them? Do they add value to your life? And when I say add value to your life, it may not mean specifically a direct target towards weight loss or body transformation. We want to know what are all the myriad of ways that it adds value to your life, including like, how do I feel while I'm practicing? How do I feel immediately after? How does this help give me more room to do the things that I want to do? How does it paint a brighter future for me? All of those things we need to include in the conversation as well. So it doesn't just feel like, hey, I'm your coach. Here's your to-do list. Go do your thing, and then come back to me, and that's how you'll achieve kind of the state that you're looking for. It often just doesn't work that way. Uh, and when we do use that kind of more forceful approach, we do push people into some weird corners. And then quite often they push back in behaviors uh, that seem self-sabotaging to us, but they are often a way of exerting control and getting some of that control back for themselves. I'm just taking a look at the comments real quick. Oh, Doris, just to answer your question, if I click on any of the practices, you'll be able to see any of the resources attached to them. So this is it's a demo client profile. If I clicking on resources shows me the entire resource library at a glance. And then these are the specific practices that are attached to our eating well intuitively practice. And as I was saying before, I like to see them as kind of a cycle. So once we use Eat Slowly to improve awareness, Eat Till Satisfied helps us to hone our skills a little bit more. Know why you're eating tends to be a really powerful one that I use with a lot of folks who are using food as a distraction, they've kind of self-identified that, yeah, I tend to use food in a way that I think is not super helpful for me, or I engage with certain food-related behaviors in a way that I think could use some improvement. Know why you're eating, I call it the speed bump habit, where it inserts a moment for them to ask a question before they take an action. And then finally, is enjoy eating, because that is something that I definitely want my clients to walk away with, is the ability to feel like I can go into a variety of food situations and I can find the value in eating a saltine cracker, and I can find the value in eating at a Michelin star restaurant and everything in between that. So being able to have a deep appreciation and enjoyment for food is something that I think helps people to have a more balanced relationship with food as well. And then, yeah, then they can just repeat the cycle again. And all of these are additive to each other, not exclusives. Jeanette, you're muted.
I left to restart my computer because I was struggling. My Zoom was like totally frozen. So thanks for your patience on that. I have a question
No worries.
logistically about the platform. When we send them the habits, they get the habit sort of loaded in and they can access it and check it off like on a daily basis and like rate themselves or like success of the habit on a daily basis, right? Is that how it's
Mhm.
sort of utilized? Then the resources, that's like sends, that's how does that look to them? Does it send it to them uh like basically these are all, what's the difference? Owner's manual read only, it's articles, and then they apply the owner's manual ones, or they read the articles that are read only, and does it end up in their inbox?
Yeah, so here, let's take a look. I gotta update my browser, but hopefully you'll let me do this part. Cool. So if they have any practices assigned, this is what the client side looks like now. So this client is currently working on eating slowly, mindfully, and actively de-stressing. Uh, these are just their daily check-ins here. If I go
So
to
these are
resources,
built, those are built-in habits, or did you create that for that person?
this is a demo account, and I just put these practices on the last time I used this demo account.
Meaning like you pulled it from the library, or you like custom created it?
No, these are from the library.
Oh,
So this is eat slowly and mindfully, and then actively de-stress is under the stress management skill tree.
okay, cool.
Uh, so if you're looking for any of the resources attached to these current practices, you can click on that resource tab, and then it will show you all of them at a glance.
All the what?
I believe all of the resources that you were just mentioning, so like the lessons, uh, the visuals, evidence, all of those things, you can see them all at a glance here.
You can see them all under clients here? Okay, got it. Is that what you said?
Yeah, at a glance is what I said. But
Oh,
also you can see resources are also on the homepage. So
okay.
if my client is looking for their Eat Slowly and Mindfully resources, if they click on that tab, they'll be able to see all of those here.
So is that automatically part of the practice? They'll see all the resources, it's all included?
Yes, it automatically pops up in this resource section here. Whether they engage with them or not is very much up to two things. One, your guidance as a coach. If you tell them, hey, uh, feel free to go into there and look at any of the resources, or if you want to guide them to specific resources, you can also do that. You can send the resources as part of a message, or I tend to let my clients know, hey, there's a section there called resources. I don't need you to go into it. Feel free to look at it if you would like to, but anything that you need to know we'll cover in our coaching discussions. And if there's something in the resources that pops up that is related to our discussions, I will highlight it for you and I'll send it to you. So
Okay.
again, this is very much in line with my coaching philosophy of don't give adults homework.
Yeah, that's your philosophy. Don't give them homework.
I mean, additional reading and like taking time to work on the thing that is not actively the thing, it's not super, it is often not well received from my clientele. That being said, instead of giving them homework to be like, hey, you fill out this sheet, I will sit down with them and we'll just talk about what's in the sheet. And then one, I look like a rock star coach, and two, they don't have to do homework. So everybody
You're talking
wins.
about like the intake questionnaire, right?
No, the intake questionnaire is the only piece of homework I have to give them because I can't create their profile without it. Like the system will not start their program
Oh.
until they've done the intake questionnaire. But that is literally the first thing and the last thing that I will have them do.
Okay. And then what was the thing that you were referring to then that was that makes you look like a
Don't
rock
get.
star coach that
Oh,
you do in person
uh,
instead of sending it to
yeah.
them?
So let's see, actively de-stress if it has any here. So, like the lesson, or aren't there any? I think actually it should be here. Let's pick one. Self-care practices. So see these questions here, the owner's manual questions for this resource. So this resource is called self-care practices. I could assign this to a client and send them it as a message and be like, hey, read this article and then fill out the questions at the bottom, and then we'll have a discussion about that in our next check-in. That is a method that I could use. Or what I could do is I read this lesson, understand kind of the main concepts, and then in our conversation, I will bring these up in conversation. And then if I want to elicit more reflection from my client, I can ask them, what kinds of caregiving do you regularly or occasionally partake in? From there, what's one way that you can take care of yourself a little bit more? I just become the questions, give them space to respond in real time. And then from there, they're like, wow, that was a really useful, insightful conversation that I just had with my coach, who clearly asks insightful questions and gives me space to share kind of a little bit more about myself, as opposed to, here, take 15 minutes to go read this and answer it by yourself,
This
which
is
they'll
so,
maybe do, but they
yeah,
may look at it and be like, I have 20 things that I need to do, and this is at the very bottom of that list.
right. This is so good because I personally, now going through Pro Coach, really like diving deep into it, I find that there's so much. It's so much, even for the coach to like take in and read and go through the tree of things. And I'm like, it's dense. And it's our job to undensify it for the client and just turn it
Mm-hmm.
into a conversation and make it actionable right away. So I even hesitated with the intake questionnaire because it's so many questions and like it breaks it down into like such details. It's like a bit much. Like even if I was pretending to do it myself and I was like, I don't know if
So,
anyone has the patience to do this whole thing.
in defense of the intake questionnaire, which
Yeah.
could there be less of it? Potentially. But there are a couple things that it achieves. So one, it does give you, when you have that level of information and insight, you can start to gather more patterns from your clients. Of course, I'm still going to ask questions to my client to confirm that is the way that I'm interpreting these signals here or this information here, am I interpreting it the same way as you? Or is there room for you to correct me? Because I want to have that conversation. The other thing is clients expect a level of information sharing at the beginning of a relationship anyway. And it gives you an air of legitimacy. So if you kind of just went in and it's like, hey, pay me and then do a 7-day food log, and they're like, but you haven't explained, like, I haven't gotten any insight into what this process is going to be like. You're just asking me to do this multi-day task. Whereas, yeah, I expect to be able to answer some questions before we get started. Uh, I can take 15 minutes to answer all of this, and it'll be useful. I can see how it's clearly useful to the coach. This now feels like a real process where I'm entering into a coaching relationship as
Yeah.
opposed to this kind of fly by night scenario.
Okay. Fair enough. But then at least
Yeah,
after
but I
15
wouldn't want to do that every single week.
right, right. So you don't inundate them with anything more after that.
Typically, no.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, part of my, again, coaching philosophy here is what is the lowest touch effort that we can utilize to get to the place that we want to get to? So I can have them take all the measurements, I can have them gather all the information, But if I could do something very similar in a similar time frame where it's like, oh, you actually only have to do one or two things, I'm gonna take that path every time. The full bells and whistles option might be useful if I'm trying to justify why my price is so expensive, but I would much rather get to the destination with the greatest ease as opposed to the most complex path possible.
Mhm.
If you've ever heard kind of like the analogy of like you call a plumber over and then they go to see your water heater and they listen for 30 seconds and then they tap one of the pipes and then the water heater starts working again. They're like, okay, that's $500. And you go, but you didn't do anything. It's like, yeah, but they got the job done. That's really what matters, right?
Sure. I like
Mhm.
it. I have
Yeah.
another.
So, I mean,
Hmm.
oh, go for it, please.
Well, I don't want to monopolize the question, so I want to
Well,
give.
I mean, until I see some more questions pop up, this is your time to ask questions.
Okay. Well, I can go to that quick one. It's a quick one. Is ice cream and
Uh,
chocolate, what is it? A carb? Uh, or a
Sorry,
sugar?
one second. Do you need to see a screen share still, or are we done with Pro Coach for the
No, we're
time
done
being?
with that.
Okay, cool.
So
Sorry, you were asking a question?
yeah, I was breaking down, the palm and the fist and the thumb, and
Mhm.
then she's like, "Well, what about chocolate? What about ice cream? And what about a kind bar?" Kind bar is all
Gotcha.
nuts covered in chocolate, so that's a few thumbs of fat right there, right?
Have you looked at the kind of like our PN article for like the Q&A for all things hand portions?
I looked at the hand portion guide.
There is one of the sections, there's like seven sections in there. Did you look through kind of like those sections? There's one question, I think it's like three or four, that talks about what to do with like mixed composition foods.
Right. Yeah, I figured that's a mixed composition.
Yeah,
Um,
so that is essentially what you go about uh, looking
where
there. And yeah, Tamara, actually, do you have a response for Jeanette here, or did you have another question?
you're muted. Oh, she
Oh
said
yeah,
her.
sorry. Yeah, I have a response for Jeanette if if I had to. Yeah, just because I mean like for about 4 years ago, I finished my eating disorder certified specialist program with also Marcia Herring. She discovered the rule of three. It's amazing to be honest. I It's my honest advice. But anyways, so in there we got I mean like fascinating research about like which like kind of this food which in the middle, for example like croissant or ham or whatever. And there was five examples. So croissant, it's fat, it's not carbs because they got more fats than carbs. So
Okay.
yeah, because it's from butter, literally it's more about butter than flour. Then chocolate, so plain chocolate and dark chocolate as well is always fat. For
Okay.
example, salami or chorizo or whatever, all these meat things, Italian things, is always fat. It's not
Really?
protein. Yeah,
Really?
but for example, like ham and prosciutto, it's more about protein. So it's like in the middle.
Mm.
Interesting was about eggplant, for example, because without cooking, it's vegetable. But when you, for example, fry it, it's fat because it's like a sponge. So its chemical structure, it's like a sponge. So it's literally like, like get all the fat. So when you like just eat eggplants, you eat vegetable, a little
Well,
bit.
that's going to be anything like calamari, French fries.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
yeah.
potato and it's a seafood until you fry it. Then they all look the same. They're all brown and crusted and full
Good.
of oil from
Yeah, and
cooking.
yeah, that's why, yeah, and what you said is also like when you get your French fries, it's not a carb, it's also about fat. But when you eat a burger, So bun, it's a carb source, but not like a French fries also. And also about ice cream, that was interesting because it depends. For example, if you eat like a frozen yogurt, it's more protein as well. But for example, if you eat like I don't know, like Ben and Jerry's or wherever, it's more carbs. So like I mean, plain not sugar-free ice cream, it's more carbs than fat.
Okay, so it would be like a serving of ice cream. Let me think. How do they do carbs? It's like
Because of sugar.
a fist. It's a cupped hand. So then a cupped hand of ice cream is one serving of carbohydrates.
It
So it's like
literally,
a scoop of ice cream is like
yeah, like a scoop or one like a little portion or
yeah.
on a stick, something like this. But yeah, like a scoop of ice cream, a standard size. I mean, like so yeah, for example. Yeah.
Okay, that helps. And where are you getting this from? You said somebody or
Yeah. It's Marcia Herring. Marcia Herring, The Rule of Three. She got like an amazing book as well. So I will write in the chat. Uh, I hope that it can be helpful.
So
Marcia.
thanks for that, Jeremy.
Yeah, we're welcome.
And
Well,
FAQs.
So I'm gonna push back on this one a little bit and then give you another alternative pathway that you can use, or you can continue with what Tamara shared with you. So let's look at the example for an eggplant, where uh, if you're eating it kind of raw or just baked with like minimal additional ingredients, we're calling that a vegetable. Great.
Yeah.
If we uh, if we kind of like add olive oil to it and then bake it, one, it would probably taste way better. But two, we're now calling it primarily a fat source. You
Or
can do that,
wouldn't it just be both? Wouldn't it be a thumb of fat and
right? Because
a fist of
exactly,
vegetable?
it doesn't stop being a thing with processing unless we're inherently removing something from it. So it's like
Right.
if
That's
we
what
were putting this eggplant into a juicer and now we're taking out all the fiber and a lot of the mineral content from it, and now we just have kind of the juice from it, then when it's highly processed, it can often become a different thing. But if we're just cooking the thing, we typically don't remove all of its beneficial compounds, and it doesn't inherently become one thing. It just adds more things to it.
yes, I agree.
So the other thing here is that whenever we're calling something, keep in mind that there are some foods that fit quite neatly into certain macro categories, one of the three macro categories. There are most foods, I would say, and most meals in particular, are going to have some mixed composition. So, what do we do in those situations? I would say make your best guess. Like, what am I calling my protein source on my plate here? And then do I use this same kind of framework consistently enough to see the changes that I want to see over time?
Yeah.
If we zoom out from the actual conversation of what is this food, we first have to ask the question, why am I classifying this food? What is the inherent value to having an ability to classify the things that appear on my plate? Typically, we're doing it because we want to make certain changes of either promoting more of a certain type of macronutrient, potentially limiting a certain type of macronutrient in order to see some sort of potential outcome. So either changing my body weight, changing my body composition, changing my performance. So in that light, if the goal is I'm trying to change my body composition and I want to eat more protein, uh, we can identify certain foods that may be protein sources, but also contain other macronutrients. But for sake of simplicity, this is going to be my protein source here. Common example, uh, milk tends to be quite, or cow's milk tends to be quite like evenly split between the three macronutrients. Like it has a good amount of fat, a good amount of protein, a good amount of carbohydrates in it as well. If the meal is a bowl of cereal, I'm going to just call the milk, that's my protein source. And I'm going to call my cereal my carb source. And that's where I'm going to end the discussion.
Yeah.
Could I get more granular there? Potentially. It's like, oh, actually, my cereal is a higher fiber or a higher protein cereal. So it has some protein as well. And I'm going to count that. And my milk also has some amount of carbohydrate and fat in it. You can go more granular there. if it is necessary. For most folks, being able to just identify a food as kind of a singular dominant macronutrient tends to be quite useful, and then move on from there. Also understanding that we can use kind of more of the PN classification where it's like, is this a lean protein? Is this a fruit or veggie? Is this a starchy carb? Or is this a fat source? And then whatever it's closest to, that's what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to just continue to call it that. And if I need to make adjustments for those foods that I eat commonly, then it's like, okay, I'm just going to eat a little bit more or a little bit less until I get to a place where my body is responding the way I want it to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's a
think
lot of kind of like mental gymnastics that we can do here. The question I would pose is, what level of accuracy do we need to see the outcomes we're looking for, as opposed to absolute accuracy?
yeah. I think if it's different enough than what they're doing, then that's the next step. It doesn't have to go like
Mhm.
3 more steps. And so when I mentioned the hand portion,
Exactly.
it created awareness that she was completely not including any carbohydrates because people think carbohydrates, they vilify
Mhm.
carbohydrates. And so just the knowledge that she should have 1 to 2 portions of each carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in every meal completely changed the way she was like already approaching her eating. And so like if she incorporated that, that would be enough for her to change.
Right. So if it's giving her enough awareness and enough information to drive the habit change we want, to see the outcomes that we're looking for, then you can continue to go down the rabbit hole more if you would like, but might be unnecessary to both you and the client.
So on that note, like, is it okay to introduce the habit of hand portions as well? She's very eager to just have some structure to follow, as well as working on her stress eating. And so I know PN's thing is all about just one, and even like take that one and break it down to the 5-minute habit or 5-minute action. So it's like do less, do less, do less. So then my question is, do I not speak about hand portions at all, or just allow her to sink her teeth into it or dip her toe into it?
So representing PN here, I'm gonna reframe our stance a little bit on one habit at a time, a little bit, in that typically we would say as keep it to whatever their bandwidth is, whatever they're ready, willing, and able. For a lot of folks, especially in our and where this kind of one habit at a time framework came from, was from our group coaching approach, where uh, if we had clients work on multiple practices at the same time in a group format, things would get crazy really quickly,
Mhm.
uh, from a coaching standpoint and from a client support standpoint. So while we still encourage one-on-one coaching to work on one thing at a time, you'll notice that in ProCoach, you can have up to, I believe, like 10 practices going simultaneously. So we've certainly softened our approach on one habit at a time. I think
Okay.
what is more representative now of where we're at is uh, work on as many things as the client feels they are ready, willing, and able to work on, and that they do not feel overwhelmed. Uh, if you've ever done kind of like you've gone through the ready, willing, and able worksheet, it typically asks scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel you are in your ability to perform this action more often than not? And we want most clients to be like 9 out of 10 on that action. So then
Mhm.
what you would do in this situation is like, okay, ask the question for action A, ask the question for action B, ask another question. So for both A and B together, how ready, willing, and able do you feel to do the thing? If they're like, yeah, I feel pretty strong about A, B, I think might be a little bit more challenging. It's like, cool. Do you want to hold off on B until our next check in? We can park it. It can live in the background for right now, but we don't need to actively track it or work on it. And then they know, cool, I could do both at the same time. The I have the support to do so. I don't need to do them right now. And then they also know what their next step is likely going to be. once they feel more comfortable doing that primary thing.
So you asked them, how ready, willing, and able do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10 to work on your stress eating? That's a 9. Okay, we're going to do that. How ready, willing, and able do you feel to work on hand portions, incorporating hand portions into your meals? Oh, like 7. Do you only move forward if they're like at a 9?
Typically, what we'd encourage is you continue to modify or shrink the action until they feel like they are ready to do the thing at a high level, which is typically 8 or 9.
I like that. Okay.
So if they're like, I don't feel ready to do my hand portions, like I feel like a 6, 7 out of 10, I think I could do it. Cool. What if we just focused on protein? Does that change your ability? It's like, oh yeah, if we're just doing protein, I can easily do that. I feel very confident about it. Great.
I was
There
gonna
are
say,
2 actions.
I would take out 2 of the macros and just make it 1 macro.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you can add in or replace as you need to build awareness or as their capacity changes.
Okay, that is clutch. That's great. I can work with that. Now, is there a way that they can actually track it in ProCoach? Like I had my 5 today of carbs, my 5 today of protein, the way like people like to check off, I don't know, like almost a food log, but in the form of hand portions, or is it just a habit
Uh,
that they check off overall for the day?
yes. Let's see if I have a demo client who has some food specific stuff to track. No, this guy has it too. So short answer is yes, they can, clients can do that. They can track hand portions between 1 and I believe the highest number is 40 servings per day. So they can, when they click on their practice to kind of give their rating, instead of the 1 to 5 log, it will just have 0 to start and then a plus and minus. So they just hit plus, 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 minus, 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 and then that will save at the end of every day.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Great. Okay, that's good to know. And I saw like in the hand portion guide, it said like typical woman, 1 to 2 portions per meal. And like, I think that that's
As a
easy
starting
to
point.
start versus like, do you recommend I crunch her numbers, her height, her weight, and out, spit out like an actual specific?
I mean, so again, this is more, it's probably more of a conversation in terms of how much information does this person need to feel like they are engaged in, invested in the process. I
Yeah.
will crunch numbers and go through the guide or some sections of the guide with folks when they are typically displaying that they're like, yeah, I have competence doing this stuff. I have previous experience being kind of like a level 1 plus eater, and they would enjoy having that breakdown. So they're asking questions like, hey, like if I have a meal plan, can like you look it over for me? And I'll say, oh, instead of doing that, I can do this for you. Would that be useful? It gives me an opportunity to demonstrate value and make sure that they're not going off on wild goose chases, and that we can still stay on track to do things in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. If they're someone who's just like, I have no experience doing this stuff and tracking is not my highest priority, then you can start with just the rough PN guide of, for men, aim for around 2 portions, for women, between 1 and 2 portions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect.
Uh, and then, yeah, make the adjustment as needed. So you can either go up or down as required. Cool. Does that give you what you were kind of looking for today?
Yes.
Awesome. Tamara, Doris, any questions or comments before we sign out for today?
No, thanks. That was awesome.
There is someone on the chat that's asking about the ProCoach trial version. She can just like
Oh,
go to like ProCoach and get the trial. It's a 30-day trial. So,
correct. Yeah.
right?
Let
Thank
me
you
see.
so much.
You're welcome.
Da, 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 da.
Are these calls usually?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea what this website is. It looks like our Pro Coach trial page. Actually, before I give you something crazy, let me just make sure that I'm going to the correct website here. Where's our software?
And then someone asked, is any advice on how
There
to
we
get
go.
comfortable charging more money for less work? Just try. Just like spit out the number and then see what
Yeah, so I mean, I think Anastasia asked that question when I was sharing the plumber kind of analogy.
Oh
The
yeah.
reason that the thing that I left out of that analogy is that at the end, the person's like, give me $500. And the customer gets irate because they're like, what the heck? Why would I pay you $500? All you did was tap on the pipe. The reason that you pay them that amount is because of their expertise, because they were able to get you the work done in as quick and efficient a manner possible. So if it feels like you're doing less work and the work feels more easy to you and you're helping guide your clients in a way that provides them less stress, that is why they pay you more.
Mhm.
Hopefully that makes sense and helps ease some of your misgivings about someone feeling like they are being hard done by because it was too easy to work with you and they got results too quickly. Therefore, they should pay you less. You can tell them go work with someone else and have a whale of a time with it, and then they can pay them what they're worth.
I think it helps to just ask other coaches what they charge and what they make, and you hear those numbers and they're just like nice and high, and you're like, okay. Like I'm gonna start saying higher numbers.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean
it
it's a
kind of
strategy you can certainly use.
it like normalizes it and makes it feel more approachable. I'm like, why would you want less than them?
That is fair. Cool. Anything else for today, folks, before we sign out?
When do you do this? Do you do it on Tuesdays, Thursdays, or both?
I move it around. It's all over the place. I try
Okay.
and switch the calls so that as many people as possible can attend. Let's see when the next one is. I'm
I think
not
the next one
sure
is
who.
Tuesday. No?
Pardon
Okay,
me?
I get it. So you do move it around. I'll just stay posted, and you're gonna get to know me too well.
That's fair. The next one is on July 8th at 4 p.m., which sounds like it could be me. So it'll either be me or Coach Kate at any given time. So you'll get both of our perspectives, which is better than just one of our perspectives.
Perfect. Thank you so much for
Thank you
all
Yeah,
so
no
much.
worries.
generous time and
We'll
knowledge.
very welcome. We'll leave it here for today, folks. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you.
Or
Yeah.